Confusion with vowels is a very common problem with children that speak Spanish and English, especially E and I. I. Yeah, up to this day, it's a problem in our house. If I say to my daughter, please write down chica, which means girl in Spanish, as you may already know, and it's spelled like this, with an I, most likely I'm going to get chica, which means a person from the Czech Republic. And I think I explained this to my children, who knows, 1,000 times? No, 1,000,000 times. Still a problem. Maybe more than 1,000,000 times. I actually understand the confusion 100% because it is extremely confusing. Look, in English, we call this letter E, and that's the actual name and the sound of this letter in Spanish. In Spanish, we call this letter E, and the sound is E as well. You see how extremely confusing this is? Actually, it's so extremely confusing that I'm going to recap. Letter name, E, sound, E. Letter name, E, sound, E. Letter name, E, sound, E. Letter name, I, sound, E. With the letters I and E, another super common problem among ESL students is not being able to hear the difference between E and E. I personally had to overcome this issue myself in the past at some point as a non-native English speaker by training my ears to hear the subtle difference. I know it's not subtle for native speakers. I get it, it's not subtle for me anymore after a lot of training and repetitions and living in English-speaking countries for I think 17 years now. But I had to work on this. I didn't know the name of what I was doing at the time, but I know now that I was working towards my phonemic awareness skills, which is such a crucial skill. You probably already know that. Well, for ESL students, it is as crucial or even more. Otherwise, in their ears, ship and sheep, same theme. Fit and feet, same theme. I can hear the difference. I was not able to. I repeat, it is a very, very common problem. Watch out, because this may happen to your ESL students as well, and for sure this can have an impact in their reading skills and their spelling abilities in English. Another pair of confusing vowel sounds is U as in moon, U as in book. I know they sound very different to you, but for your ESL students, they may sound the same, unless you train them to hear the subtle difference. Finally, with vowel sounds, I know some ESL students have problems with the letter O, especially with the American way of saying it, because it's not rounded, as it is in Spanish and also in British English and even Australian English. In American English, there's this jaw dropping, as in hard. I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly, forgive me if I'm not. Well, in British English, it's more like hot. That's very similar to the sound of the letter O in Spanish, but I know many of you are watching this in the US and you have your ESL students in the US too. Okay, let's recap. Vowels, especially confusing for many reasons. The way they are pronounced is different, and your students may have this, let's call it ma, me, mi, mo, mu reflex, and you'll have to retrain this reflex and explain that in English is ma, me, mi, mo, or ma, ma. They may not be able to hear the difference between certain pairs of vowel sounds. Remember, we talked about E and I, U and U. And since they are not able to hear the difference, they will probably not be able to reproduce the sound to say the sound.
This video is a fragment of a longer video in the channel where I talk in depth about teaching reading to ESL students. Click here to watch it.